Hello everyone, Princess Woman Fall here. Hope you're all doing wonderful. Hope y'all noticed that I've been using AI to tell the stories, mainly because I have problems with my throat, allergy, just all that stuff. And I wanted to keep a clear story going without me having to make cuts and all that stuff. And yeah, because I'm always worried I might leave like me drinking or coughing or that in, so that's why I'm using AI. But I will speak occasionally. But let's get into today's story.
The first town is Poveglia Island, Italy, that sits between Venice and Lido, the Venetian lagoon. The 17-acre island is known as the Island of Ghost or the Island of No Return. The first the island is mentioned in history is in 421 when people from Padua and Este hid on the island from the barbarian invasions. The people stayed and the population grew. Unfortunately, in 1379 the island came under attack by the Genoan fleet, where they were moved to Giudecca and the island remained uninhabited. In 1527 the head of state asked the Camaldolese monks if they wanted the island, but they turned it down. In 1645 the Venetian government built 5 octagonal forts on the island so they could protect and control the lagoon. The fort on the island still stands. In 1776 the government opened a health office to check people and goods coming in and out by ship. In 1793 some cases of Black Death or the plague were found on a few of the ships. These people were then forced on the island so the sickness wouldn't spread. As the plague started to run rampant, the island was then turned into a place for the infected to be quarantined. 160,000 plague victims were sent here but are not sure because it wasn't well documented. In 1805 the island was under Napoleon Bonaparte and he made the island a permanent quarantine station. The church of San Vitale was destroyed and the bell tower was made into a lighthouse. Unfortunately, the island's condition during the plague was awful, and in all honesty, people was just taken to the island to die. Anyone who showed any signs of sickness was taken to the island. Some of the people weren't sick but had to wait 40 days to see if they did or didn't. They usually didn't. I'm sure the people who weren't sick soon became sick in the horrible conditions. Workers were sent to the island to bury the bodies of those who died. Some of the records stated that because of all the deaths the workers ran out of places to bury the dead, so they started piling them up where they waited rotting to burn them. The workers whose job it was to collect the dead sometimes grabbed the ones who were too sick to move or talk, were thrown in piles of corpses or sometimes burned. The workers were consistently burning bodies. People said that the ash rained down like snow while the smoke filled and choked the air. They claimed that 50 to 60% of the soil on the island contains human remains, and to this day charred bones wash up on Poveglia's shore. In 1814 the island being used as a quarantine station ended. In 1922 the existing buildings were converted into an asylum for the mentally ill. The asylum became known for having countless reports of abuse. People were beaten, left in solitary confinement for a long time, used in electric therapy, shocks to the brain, lobotomies, which is brain surgery, and so on. Patients died horrible painful deaths, then buried in the ground with the other victims of the island. After the close of the asylum 1946 and used for a long-term care facility until 1968, the island was used for farming for a short period and then left abandoned. In 2014 the state auctioned a 99-year lease hoping someone would redevelop the island into a luxury hotel. They said Luigi Brugnaro won, but the project didn't meet all the conditions, so the island was left. After he became the mayor he renounced any intentions with the island. In 2015 a private group wanted to make it a public park, marina, and restaurant. As of today, the island is still empty. Fishermen avoid the island and it is closed to the public. But you can still find people to take you to the island for a price, of course. Now let us get into some of the ghostly encounters. They say you can hear coughing, weeping, screaming, and even whispering. You know, all the usual ghost activities. Others said unseen forces have touched, pushed, hit, and even choked them. They all feel uneasy on the island. To add more to the creepy abandoned island, there is a tombstone in the middle of the island that reads, "Do not dig here, rest those who died of contamination." A rumor is that the director of the asylum was forced by the spirits of the island to the top of the bell tower and forced to jump, but he didn't die from the fall. A nurse claimed she saw a fog come out of the ground into his body, causing him to suffocate. The patients of the asylum reported seeing shadows and that they couldn't sleep at night because of the people screaming. The staff didn't believe them. In 2016, some guys from Colorado who snuck on the island were recused by firefighter after people heard their screams. The firefighters found the men panicking and in shock after seeing and hearing things they couldn't explain. A family visited the island wanting to build a summer home, but they left the first night. The family didn't give a reason, but one of their daughter's face was busted open and bleeding like crazy. It is said she needed 14 stitches. Another man ran from the island after a voice told him to leave and never come back. The fishermen stopped fishing there because they can hear screams and moans, but also because they caught human remains in their nets. The locals say on quiet nights you can hear the bell tower chime even though the bell was removed years ago. Some say it's the spirits while others say it's the doctor. They are not sure when the bell was removed because it wasn't documented, but some believe Napoleon had it removed in 1806 when it was converted to a lighthouse. Even though it has a very interesting history and we all want to see or hear ghosts, remember that this place is off limits, and if you get caught you will face whatever punishment they see fit, whether it's a fine or jail time. Maybe you heard of the Village of the Damned, also known as Dudley Town. This town is in the Appalachian Mountains in the state of Connecticut. The town is also located in a valley known as the Dark Entry Forest. They say the town is cursed. The curse started with a man named Edmund Dudley, who was an English nobleman who committed treason by attempting to overthrow the king and got beheaded by Henry VIII in 1510. His descendants brought the curse with them to a settlement around Cornwall, Connecticut, right before the American Revolution. The Dudley town started to experience a lot of bad luck. At a barn raising for William Tanner, where you help your neighbors build a barn, Gershon Hollister fell to his death. It looked like an accident, but a good many people believe that he was pushed. People believe that William Tanner killed him. William lived to be 104, which is odd because most people died around their 30s or 40s in this time. They said that after Gershon's death, William started talking more and more about wild animals and demons, and eventually he went insane, wandering around the town and talking about strange creatures coming out of the woods at night. Abiel Dudley, William Tanner's neighbor, lost his entire fortune and his mind. They said he too wandered around town till the end of his days, muttering about strange creatures in the woods and unable to properly care for himself. They claimed he lived to be 90. They say that Sarah Robinson Swift, the wife of Heman Swift, a Revolution hero and George Washington colonel. The story goes that Sarah was sitting on her porch when she was struck by lightning and died. After they said Heman went crazy and died. The thing is, he married his fourth wife a few months later, so he must have not been that crazy. Just note that the story is connected to the town, but there is no way to verify if it is real or not. In 1774, an epidemic wiped out the entire family, while the other relatives who lived in the town were upset by the loss and moved to New York. Nathaniel Carter, his wife, and infant was tomahawked to death, while the other 3 kids were kidnapped and taken to Canada. John Patrick Brophy lost his wife to tuberculosis. His 2 children disappeared and were never found, and later one of the Dudley brothers and 2